Today we're taking a look at my entire folding knife collection. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. This is going to be a long one. If you guys have not seen this knife case before, I'll give you a little bit of a background on it. I never decided to collect knives, it just kind of happened over time. I was testing out new blades, some of them were sent to me as gifts, and then once that kept happening, I outgrew my original knife case, so I decided to go all out and limit myself to just this case right here when it comes to folding knives. So this is a case coming from Seahorse, and it's a rifle case. It locks, dustproof, waterproof, it has wheels so you can roll it around. This thing is actually pretty heavy right now, and this is the pick and pluck foam version. So I picked and plucked all of the foam out of here, allowing me to have 84 slots for all different types of knives. I said I would give you guys a full knife collection when this thing is full, and it is about at capacity. There are a few blades in here that are not really knives, and you guys will sort of see that stuff when we get to them. But every single slot is full here, 84 different pieces to look at, talk about, and most of them, I would say 80 to 85% of these blades in here already have dedicated reviews here on the channel. So I'm not going to go super into detail on anything. I might throw a story in here or there depending on which blade we're talking about. But if you see something that you like and you are curious if I have more thoughts on it, then go search on the main channel. You should be able to find, again, probably like 85% of knives in this box with their own dedicated video here on the channel. Now that the box is full, whenever I buy a new knife or I get a new knife in for review, whatever it may be, I have to sell or trade or get rid of one of these knives. That way I just don't have an abundance of knives. I'm going to answer a lot of common questions. The first one being, are any of these for sale? Absolutely not. None of these knives are for sale yet. Once I get more in and I need to clear some room for more knives, then I will sort of pick and choose which knives I want to get rid of. A lot of them I'll probably give away to people on Patreon, some friends of mine. However, if it's like a high ticket item, there's a good chance that I'll probably end up selling it, and you can find out all of that information over on my Instagram whenever that time comes. So again, this is going to be a long one. Without further ado, we're just going to jump right into this, go down the line of knives, and just sort of talk knives all day. So first up in slot number one, this one you guys have seen on my channel before, and this was like the first knife that got me into pocket knives. This is a colonial traditional folder with a fork and a spoon on there, and this was actually my dad's. I remember seeing this thing in his toolbox growing up, and it's definitely seen some better days, but it does have a normal blade on there. Has a can opener, a little lanyard ring on there, and this is like the first knife that I remember as a child, so that's why that is in slot number one, and I will never get rid of this thing. Next up is a knife that definitely has a dedicated review, and this one was in my pocket for quite a while. This was like when I really first started appreciating pocket knives, and this was one of my favorite knives for the longest time. This is the Gerber Paraframe. I think I picked it up at Walmart for like 15 bucks, and this thing has seen a ton of pocket time. It's a really inexpensive blade, but it's a pocket knife and it works, so this one will probably remain in my collection for a long time as well. Now we're getting into Spyderco. We're gonna have to fly through these because there are so many. The OG, this is top 5 favorite knives of all time. If I can only have one blade, this is going to be probably on that list. Of course, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Recently I've been using this thing in my kitchen because I don't have any really good sharp kitchen knives, so this thing is a great pocket knife. It has the compression lock on the back. This blade drops closed very nicely, giant spidey hole on there, just a really good blade overall. Next up, the Spyderco Yojimbo 2. This is one of the first like non-traditional blade styles that I ever got. So it's a Warncliffe blade, G10 handle, same lock as the Paramilitary 2, and this thing just looks wicked. It's kind of like a fighting knife, and you guys have seen this on my channel a bunch in the past. Next up, this was a gift from my friend Wayne at Panda Tactical. This is a Sergey Penchenko knife design. This is the Spyderco Rock. On this side, it's got a wire pocket clip, spidey hole, and it's sort of like a Warncliffe, almost like a cleaver design. This one is a liner lock, and I should mention throughout this video, I'm gonna get a lot of these makers and blade names wrong. I'm gonna get blade steels wrong and everything like that. You can correct me in the comments if you want, but there's just too much stuff here for me to remember every single little detail about all of these blades. Next up, we've got the Spyderco Para 2. This one has some accessories on here from the Wiseman company, so it has their signet and their little fang there. That way you can rip this thing out of your pocket. The last time I carried this knife, I cut myself hardcore. I sliced my finger open because it was a little bit too loose on the pivot, opened up in my pocket, and I reached my hand in and sliced the crap out of my finger. So this thing doesn't see much carry time anymore. I'm really a fixed blade guy now, but I've got a ton of folders. Here we have a Spyderco Delica, really inexpensive blade, but also very good quality. FRN volcano texture handles on there, full flat grind. Love Spyderco blades, mainly for the Spidey hole and the full flat grind that they put on a lot of their blades. This thing is very lightweight, lockback design. It's a good recommendation for most people out there. Spyderco Para 2 Lightweight. This is like a mixture of the Delica we just looked at as well as the Para, so it's like an FRN style handle, volcano texture on there. Wire pocket clip on this side to keep down on weight. This thing is very light, great user, and a knife that you can definitely carry every single day with you. Next one was a gift from someone on my Patreon exclusive Discord. I was talking about knives, and this is one that I always wanted to look at. There is no dedicated review of this blade on my channel, but this is the Mantix 2. Here I go butchering names again. Spyderco blade, the same handle materials as before, wire pocket clip because it is lightweight, and the locking mechanism on this one is very similar to the Benchmade axis lock. I forget what Spyderco actually calls it, but there's a ball bearing in there, and you pull down, blade closes. You can flick it open nice and easy. So it has some good handles on it. It's got a good finger choil, really good user. Again, lightweight, easy to carry all day. Now we're moving into CRKT. This one is, dang, what was this one called? The Seismic. This is the first CRKT blade that I tested out with that deadbolt lock in there. I slammed this thing through a log. I beat the crap out of this knife. Really didn't carry it all that long just because it's so big, you can kind of tell based off of my hand size. It's a giant blade though, has a really cool locking system. If I press that over, needs a little bit of oil, like most of these knives probably do. But flipper design opens up and that thing is just rock solid. I batoned this through a log and there's still no play at all. Huge knife, really not for me, but for some people out there, you might dig that. Ooh, this one is rad. The CRKT Provoke. Such a cool design, sort of a karambit with the ring here. Really unique pocket clip on this side. If I press down, that pocket clip opens itself up so you can slide it in your pocket. I did actually carry this one for a while and it fits in the coin pocket of your pants, which is really nice. Or some people are going to correct me and call it a watch pocket. The small pocket on the top of your big pocket. This is a Joe Caswell design. Again, sorry if I'm butchering that name, but really cool blade, feels really good in the hand. Great self-defense blade. I've also used this basically just as an EDC blade to open up packages and things like that. And it's just really cool. It's good, has good fidget factor. Now we're moving into Pro-Tecs. I believe I have these in order almost of like when I picked them up, but this is the TR5. This one's a little bit different than most out there because of the acid etched blade. I love Pro-Tec and a lot of their knives. I love this finish on the blade. They fire super hard. I can't say enough good things about the auto mechanisms on their blades. The thing is pointy and stabby. This one right here, Arc Form, dang, what was this called? The Slim Foot. This is the Arc Form Slim Foot. The reason I have it with all my Pro-Tecs is because it does have a Pro-Tec action in there, and it just is basically a Pro-Tec, but Arc Form is sort of a company of its own. These were released through Blade HQ. This is the gray version, black blade, deep carry clip on there. I think I might have done a video on this, or it was in like an EDC video. Really cool blade. A little bit slower than some of the other Pro-Tecs because of the blade shape, but the thing is rad. Next up, the Malibus. This is one that I definitely reviewed. Not an auto, this thing is a flipper. It is so damn smooth. If you like Pro-Tec knives and you have definitely seen these before, I have not used this blade. I reviewed it and then I picked up another one that I could actually use. So this is the one that I kept all nice and neat. Don't want to get any scratches on there, which is rare. I typically use basically all my knives, but this one I received and then I got another one soon after, so I never really used this blade. Then moving on to the one that I did use. This is a all black everything Malibu Pro-Tec, and as you can tell, it is definitely well used. A little bit scratched on the blade. It got tape residue and everything on there. The handles are getting a little bit shiny because this one has seen a lot of pocket time, but great blade if you can find them. A lot of Pro-Tec blades, especially their exclusive ones, are kind of hard to grab, so if you have a Pro-Tec Malibu, you're going to want to hold on to that one. Next up, Pro-Tec SBR. This is a Les George design. I love this knife. I carried it for quite a while. You can tell it's definitely been used. Really small, automatic. It's got a deep carry pocket clip. And you guys have seen this in some videos before. Moving down the line, this one, so smooth. Another flipper coming from Pro-Tec, not an automatic. This is the Pro-Tec drop collaboration. This is the Pro-Tec Mordax. Really cool finger choil up in the front, which I personally love. Again, pretty deep carry pocket clip. You got a little bit of handle sticking out of the top there. This thing in your hand though, especially when you're choked up on that front choil, feels super good. Like the blade shape, I like the grind of it, and it's just so smooth. Again, another knife with a lot of good fidget factor. Then this one right here, the Godfather Operator actually. This is a knife that we actually built. This was the first one that was built at Pro-Tec's shop down in Southern California, and I did a full shop tour while I was down there, and we put this knife together. Tritium inlay on the button there because this is an operator series. Operator meaning that it is completely blacked out. There's no billboard marking on there. Sometimes you will find maker information like in the handles or everything, but if you handed this to anyone and they don't know knives, they would not know who this came from. Really cool sharp blade on there. Did carry this for a little bit, but because it was sort of special and we built it on that video, haven't used it a whole lot. Really cool stiletto style knife though. Next up, we've got another operator coming from Pro-Tec. I've got a lot of Pro-Tec knives, and this is the Rockeye operator. Same thing as before, all black, no markings at all, tritium inlay in that button. This is actually one of their newer buttons compared to the other one, so they've been updating that stuff as they start producing knives. Carried this one for a little bit of wear on the blade, and this thing is super rad. Happy to have this one in my collection as well. If I could have all the operators, I would, but again, I'm limiting myself to the amount of slots that I have in this box. Next up, a little Pro-Tec Runt. This one was an exclusive as well. It's got black hardware, black blade, black deep carry clip on this side. I should also note that I love how the clips are recessed into the handles. These handles are sort of like brass. I forget the material that they're like infused with, but it's like a brass alloy. It's got a pearl inlay button on there. I would switch that out if I could. I did carry this knife for a little while, and it's got a lot of weight to it because of those handle materials. Still fires like a Pro-Tec, legal in California. Look at the action on this. It's just so fast. Love that thing. And then one more operator. This is the SNG. This one has a really old tritium button in there. I picked this one up at SHOT Show, I believe, a few years back, 2 or 3 years ago. This thing is huge, large and in charge. Just a really mean looking blade on there. I like when Pro-Tec collaborates with other knife designers because it's sort of like the perfect balance from both companies, whoever they're working with. So this one again feels really good in the hand, no markings on it, really sweet blade. That's just one row. We've got 3 more to go. So now we're moving into Benchmade. A lot of people don't like Benchmade, and that's fine. Their knives are still good. This is a first knife that I ever got as a Christmas gift that I thought it was like a really high-end knife. It's a good knife, but compared to my collection now, it's really not super high-end. This is the Benchmade Griptilian. I've had this thing for a long time. Again, my first like good knife. Axis lock, and you're gonna see a lot of that throughout this row. Next up, we have, this is the standard Bug Out, Benchmade Bug Out. Similar to the Griptilian, but a lot slimmer, super light, deep carry pocket clip on this side, and you guys have seen this a million times. We've also got the carbon fiber Elite Bug Out. I was stuck on this knife for a long time. Loved this thing, carried it for a long time, and maybe someday it'll find its way back in my pocket again just because it's so light and easy to carry. Next up, the Benchmade Bailout. This one comes with a 3V blade steel. This is a part of their black line, so it's like military law enforcement oriented. A little bit longer handle than the Bug Out. Tonto blade on there, a little lanyard hole. Deep carry pocket clip, just like all the others. And then the Benchmade Mini Bug Out. I did a video on this guy where I was hanging out with my friend Zach when he worked at Blade HQ. It started out as white and we dyed the handle scales, so now I have a black Mini Bug Out. This thing is also super great, has seen a lot of pocket time. Great knife for pretty much anyone. The Benchmade Freak, big old knife. This one I haven't carried a whole lot just because of the size of it. It sort of has like Griptilian style handles, at least the feeling of it. It is a layered G10, which looks really rad. On the inside, red standoffs, and also some red G10 on the inside. Really nice blade. It's got a little bit of a thumb ramp, some jimping on there, axis lock, and not a complete deep carry pocket clip, but still rides in the pocket pretty nice. Now we're getting into some fun ones, balisongs. Hopefully I don't cut myself in this video. This is actually the second balisong that I got from Benchmade. This is the Benchmade 85, milled titanium handles with that blade, little blood groove in there, a little bit of a swedge on the back. I don't think I ever reviewed this knife, but I bought this when I was visiting Blade HQ. The reason I bought this is because I loved this blade so much. This is the Benchmade 87. This one I did carry for a little while. I did do a full dedicated video on it. Again, same handles, the blade's a little bit different though. So on the 87 you get that Warncliffe sort of reverse Tonto blade on there. Wicked sharp. You can definitely cut yourself pretty quickly if you're not familiar with the balisong, but this thing is sweet. Comes with a little sheath that you can put on your belt. Really cool balisong. If I could get an original 42, I would, so if you have one for sale, let me know. Next up, this one's coming from Greg Thompson. This is the Sock P folder. This thing is super large and in charge. Massive blade on here. I swapped out the clip for the circular pocket clip. That way you have a point of index. That way when you're flipping this knife around, you get good index points. Did a full video on this blade. A friend of mine made a cameo in that video too, so if you want to check it out, you can go find it on the channel. I did actually carry this knife for a little while just because of the action of it. Really good fidget factor. You can sort of spin it around in your hand and it's just like a crazy fighting tactical style knife. Next up, the Benchmade Autocrat. I believe that's the name of this one. S30V blade steel on there, out the front, blue hardware, G10 on both sides, and fires really nicely, deep carry pocket clip. Haven't had any issues with this knife. I don't think I've ever had a misfire with this. Some other autos I have had misfires with, and we'll talk about that when we get to them. This one also has a dedicated review. This is the only Benchmade 940 I have in my collection. This has the natural G10 handles, black blade on there. I don't love this blade, but I like this one in particular because it looks sort of alien-esque. This is actually the knife that I was carrying when I went and found the monolith when I was traveling through Moab, so kind of fitting, cool story to it, I guess. The Osbornes have a cult following, and I understand, it's a great user. I mean, probably one of Benchmade's best-selling knives. It's just not for me. Next up, we got another Bug Out. This was released through that little scavenger hunt that I did with them. This is a carbon fiber with some blue hardware Bug Out. This thing is super lightweight, S90 V steel on there, deep carry pocket clip. Have not carried this one just because I was using my other Bug Outs at the time, so this thing is pretty pristine and another great option. You can completely customize Bug Outs over on their website. Oh, this knife, what is this one called? I just had to reference my own video. This is the AutoFact 417 BK. So this is in their black line, military and law enforcement. This thing is sort of stiletto-esque, really slender blade on there, black carbon fiber inlays on the handles. It does have even a little bit of a lock on the back, so that way, this is not a typical axis lock. I can lock that thing, that way when I pull down on it, doesn't fire. This thing is actually an auto, so if I slide that lock back and pull, thing fires. No thumb studs or anything on there, a little bit of a swedge on the back, deep carry pocket clip. This one didn't really see any pocket time because I got 4 blades at the same time. I gave one to a friend, and this one, really cool. I like the knife, I just haven't carried it much. Then also in that scavenger hunt box, the Mini Atomos. I really wanted to like this blade, but I'm not a fan of colors on knives. As you can tell, most of my knives are black, so Really good form factor, like a hard use knife for sure, but I just never really liked the color, so I never really carried it. That was until I received this gift recently. This is actually one of my newer knives in the collection. This custom blade was sent to me by a friend over on Patreon, Parker. Shout out to Parker. He knew that I didn't like the colorway on that one, but he likes this knife, so he completely customized it. So this is the mini Atomos with basically the same features as before, but he put some custom scales on there. I believe they are aluminum. He laser etched my Spy logo in there, deep carry pocket clip, black blade on there, and then on this side in the thumb stud there's actually a little tritium insert in there. So this one is very new, haven't carried it yet, but feels a lot better than the other one, and I dig that it's all black and it's custom, so thanks Parker. Oh, next up we have one still in the box. I have the used blade right next to it. This one is brand new, and inside of that box is the little Victorinox Classic that I did with Blade HQ. They put my face on there, little serrations in the background. You can tell this one's kind of worn out. Got my signature logo on there and Blade HQ on this side. I rocked this thing on my keys for quite a long time. It's got the little tweezers, it's got a toothpick, normal pen blade, little file and screwdriver, and it even has scissors on it, so love this thing. I'm actually curious, I want to look at the brand new one. Look at that. That's me right there. Nice and shiny. Next up, this little thing. This is almost the same size as that last blade, but it's got a pocket clip and a little lanyard hole, so you could carry it if you wanted to. This is a little samurai sword coming from Stat Gear. These are really inexpensive, sort of like novelty knives, and the reason I have this is because it's like a samurai sword, and I had it on the keys to my Ninja ZX-10R, so just thought it was cool to kind of have a knife on my keys, and it's tiny and kind of useful. You could open boxes and stuff with it, but that's more of a novelty than anything else. Next up, I've got another one of those knives, the very first knife that we looked at. My dad gave me this a little bit after I had that one. I've had that other one, the original one, for a long time, and he found another one just like it, so he gave me that. That's in the collection. And now these next two slots are sort of a stretch for folding knives, but I wanted to bring you guys this video, so I had to fill all of the slots. These two right here are coming from Giltech. They are the Giltech Rux. You may have seen me open these in some old mail time videos. I got a standard, I believe, aluminum version and then a titanium version over here. I've got about 3 more of these. I keep one in the van. That one is Cerakoted multicam, and it's basically just like a little razor blade. So great for opening boxes, just a simple utility knife. I've used these things quite a bit. Not really folding knives, so once I get some more like actual folding knives, I'll replace these, throw them in my workbench, and then put actual knives in its slot, but I figured those are cool and sort of fit. All right, moving on to the third row. So the first 3 in this line are knives that I've had for a long time. These are all exclusives coming from Browse Blades. I believe this one is known as the Vendetta, and this was an exclusive release. They are American made, and this one is number 499 out of 500. Super wicked blade. I've had this in my pocket, but I haven't really used it much just because it is an exclusive and they're not making them again. So really cool design on there, and we've got 2 more. This one, also a flipper. This is the Echelon. The maker of this design, his name is sort of slipping my mind right now, but a lot of his blades look like this, just super wicked, skeletonized. This is number 286 out of 500. Again, have not used this knife, but damn, the aesthetics of it are crazy. Actually feels pretty good in the hand. There are a few little hot spots just because of how wild the G10 handles are, but really cool looking blade if you want to be in like a sci-fi movie killing predators and aliens. And then the more tame one of the Browse Blades exclusive, this is number 388 out of 500, and this is the Silent Soldier Flipper. Very minimal design. Has a standard frame lock on this side, so G10 on one side, and I forget the material here. Might be titanium, I don't think so though. Might just be stainless, but really good knife if you're just looking for sort of like a gentleman's folder. This is, again, 388 of 500, and that one will always remain in my collection. Now moving on to Microtech, the Tachyon 3. This is one of my favorite battle songs because of the ball bearings in it. It just flips so nicely. I'm not great at flipping ballast songs either, but this one does come with a little pocket clip. So this one did actually see some pocket time on there. Really simple handles on there. Spring-loaded latch, that thing never failed me. And when you open this up, you can take a look at the M390 blade on there. They are offered in a bunch of different handle variations, colors, different blades, blade materials, but this one is pretty standard and I dig it a lot. Next up, the Microtech Ultratech. This is the standard Ultratech. As you can tell, it's got some wear on it. It's got some tape residue on the blade. I have used this knife quite a lot, and because of that, I have had some misfires here and there. Did a full dedicated video of this blade, sort of like setting the benchmark for out the front knives. And then right next to that, we have the 25-year anniversary blade, which they released at Blade Show. This is definitely sort of a collector's item for any hardcore Microtech fan out there. Have not used this blade. I don't even know if I've shown it in a video, but I did pick this up at Blade Show, and this thing will remain pristine for a long time. That also came with a challenge coin, which I have in the box. Oh, then this little baby guy here. I bought this one at Blade HQ when I was visiting them in Utah. This is the Microtech Ultratech UTX 70. So this thing is tiny scaled down. Here it is in comparison to my middle finger. It's about the same size minus the blade. So I did actually carry this one for a little just because, sort of like for the novelty of it. Tiny little Microtech out the front. Still fires really nicely. Haven't had any issues with this thing hanging up. The switch on it's kind of small though, so sometimes it's hard to operate. And then this big old guy right here, the Socom Elite. Did a full video on this one as well. Carried it for quite a while. Super rad tactical blade. Tonto tip on there. Dual tone. Really good grip texture on there. Feels awesome in the hand, and the action of it is great as well. This one is a liner lock, and it is very, very smooth. Now into some more OTFs. This is the Guardian Tactical Recon 035, I believe. Yeah, the Recon 035 from Guardian Tactical. This feels like a better out the front knife compared to Microtech's, in my opinion. They use stainless inserts on here with a ball bearing, that way the switch rolls. It is super smooth. Look at the crazy like bevels and grinds on the tip of that blade there. It's got a good pocket clip on there. I carried this one for a little while, and the fidget factor with this one is just insane. Fires so nicely. And then a smaller version of that, this is the GTX 025 from Guardian. This one was a gift from a friend of mine. Really cool blade on there. Same style clip, all black, and it's just a little bit smaller than the Recon 035. Next up, this is a Boker Plus designed by my good friend Lucas Burnley. Alright, I had to look up the name of this one again. This is the Boker Kion designed by Lucas Burnley, and this was actually an exclusive. They upgraded the springs in here, so this thing fires super hard. Really nice blade. I don't remember carrying this one all too much, but as you can see, I've definitely used this knife quite a bit. So relatively inexpensive when it comes to auto knives, but also feels really great. It's got a good shape to it, and it was designed by a friend of mine, so it'll hold a little special place in my heart. Next up, we've got another one that was designed by a friend of mine. You guys know Ben. This is the Banter Knife made by We Knives. So this is a knife that Ben designed. He was kind enough to send me one of the first ones that they ever released. It's got a little bit of Ben Blue on the thumb studs there. Really simplistic knife, great for pretty much everything. He's also released a few different variants since he released this one. Different colorways. He released a baby Banter, which I believe has like a little finger choil up front, so really cool blade, again designed by a friend of mine, so this one is staying in my collection. Next up, we've got some Wesson knives. These I don't know a whole lot about. These were sent to me in a mail time video. Look at this tiny little flipper. Never used this knife. I did open them on camera though, and it seems like they have been making more and more knives recently, so maybe I should revisit these and give them a little bit of pocket time. Probably not this one though, just because it's so dang tiny. D2 steel. And then we have a traditional folder. This is made out of some cheaper steel. It's still in my collection though, because it is a folding knife. Comes with a little leather drop pouch to put it in. Not really my cup of tea. I do have a few traditional folders, but this one just really isn't it for me. And then if I had to use any knife from this company, it would probably be this guy, S30VN Steel. I don't know the name on this one. Kind of a goofy shaped blade on there, but it's definitely unique. All black everything. It's got a pretty nice pocket clip on this side as well. Again, never carried it, but I have shown it in a video in the past. Oh, this guy right here, Opinel, however you say it, whatever. You gotta have one of these in your collection. All wood handle. It has a little twist collar that actually locks the blade into place. I believe these are French and they were like painters' knives. They were used by painters, but it's a really inexpensive knife. It's pretty functional though too. It's just nice and simple, just a little rivet through there to keep the blade in place. Never carried this one because it's round and doesn't have a clip or anything on it. You would just kind of drop it in your pocket, but still a pretty cool blade. Can't forget this guy right here, the Boker Mermaid. If you don't have this in a collection, are you even a knife enthusiast? I mean, come on now. Dedicated video of this blade. Probably one of the best videos I've ever made in my entire life. Go watch it. Flipper, deep carry pocket clip. I actually sharpened this one. Believe it or not, this thing is actually pretty damn sharp. It's actually hair popping sharp right now. Popping a bunch of little hairs off my hand. Everyone needs a Boker Mermaid in their collection. Now we're going from the Mermaid up to probably the most expensive blade that I have in here. This is the Medford Praetorian. This is the MKTS. This is an exclusive, like one of one. I mean, they're all basically custom made. It has a vulcanized finish on there. I did actually carry this thing and I dropped it, so there is a little bit of a scratch on it somewhere. At least I thought there was. Alright, maybe there's not. Maybe I'm thinking of another blade, but this thing is super thick and chunky. I paid way too much money for it. I picked it up at Blade Show. But I've always wanted a Praetorian, and when I saw this one and found out that it was basically a one of one, I knew I had to have it. This thing's great. People have some feelings about the maker and the company, but we're not going to talk about that. And now we've got about 3 promo knives in a row here. This one is coming from Crimson Trace. I'm not sure who makes these blades. Might be Smith & Wesson Accessories, but Crimson Trace, and this was a gift when they released their hardline scopes. Came in a little care package and it's got a little serrated Tonto blade on there. Never used this thing, but it's cool just because it was exclusive for the time of release. Another one we got in here, tiny little blade coming from Lockdown. I'm going to be doing some work with them in the future. Wicked tiny Tonto blade on there. It's a flipper. It's got a little bottle opener on this side. Again, I don't know who makes these, but it's cool just because it's exclusive, I guess. And then another one coming from Smith & Wesson. I'm not a huge fan of Smith & Wesson knives, but this one just kind of spoke to me just because of the overall form factor of it. This is, I believe, what they call their 24/7, at least that's what the blade says. G10 handles that are sort of scallop, Tonto, very slim, decent pocket clip, not super deep. And it is a liner lock. I carried this blade for maybe like a weekend after I got it, and it works. I mean, it's a knife, it's inexpensive, but really not my overall cup of tea. Now, one more row. Starting off hot, these are some blades, kind of like multi-tools that I should really show more pocket time because of the craftsmanship on them. It's phenomenal. I believe the company is out of Germany, and this is Daily Customs. They customize all different kinds of Swiss Army knives. So this one right here, I'm not sure the model of the actual knife, but these are titanium handle scales, and they put a nice lanyard and bead on there and just sort of like soup these things up. Really nice handmade leather pouch to keep it in. I might actually throw one of these in my pocket as I'm done filming this. Got a bunch of different tools in here. I did carry one of these for a while. It was not this one, but it's got pliers and all sorts of things on there. I love a good Swiss Army knife, and these are definitely the best coming from Daily Customs. This right here is probably the one that I carried. Comes with a black leather pouch, and this one is a little bit smaller. Again, just really, really good quality. Even the details of the lanyard and the little beads on there. Titanium scales on this one. This one's got a bottle opener. This is definitely the one that I use because the pen blade on there has some tape residue and marks on it. It's got scissors, got corkscrew, and then of course it has little tweezers and toothpick as well. Might throw this one in my pocket right now. Next up, we've got another pretty dang expensive knife in my collection, leather pouch to keep it in. This is coming from BirdViz. This is the BirdViz traditional folder Hitchcock. I did actually carry this blade for a little while until I realized how sort of like exclusive and expensive they were. Then I was like, whoa, I really don't want to ding this blade up. I want to keep it pretty nice. It's got a sort of sheep's foot reverse Tonto style blade on there, kind of like a Warney. The fit and finish on this thing is phenomenal. However, for a normal person, you really have to be into knives to appreciate something like this. Just looking at the back of it where it locks up, it's just super well hand machined, and if you're going to use a knife like this, then you probably got some deep pockets. Not because it's a big knife, but just because of the price. Speaking of deep pockets, we're getting into my little lineup of Chris Reeves Sebenzas. So right here I have my original Sebenza 21. This is the Tonto version. I have the gray micarta handles on there. Can't say enough good things about these knives. Some of the best folding knives made out there. It's got the Chris Reeves integral lock, which most people know as a frame lock. And this thing is ultra smooth. It's a good knife. Next up, I have the, what was this one called? The Impinda, the Chris Reeves Impinda. This is like a modern traditional folder, not quite as expensive as that BirdViz, but definitely up there in price. Titanium, I believe this is S35 VN blade seal on there. Carried this one for a little while, but using a nail nick all the time just kind of gets inconvenient after a while. If you're looking for a gentleman's knife though, this is like getting up there as cream of the crop. I would totally throw this in my pants if I'm wearing a suit or going to a wedding, if I'm dressing formal, whatever it may be. Just a really classy, modern, traditional folder. And then Chris Reeves released the 31. So this is a Sebenza 31, normal style blade on there. They sort of redid their handle design, so this is still gray micarta. Carried this one for a while too. Very similar to the 21, and unless you've owned a Sebenza in the past, you probably won't notice the differences, but it is improved slightly over the 21, but we're talking like tiny tolerance differences and things like that. Next up, I have a mini Sebenza. This one I bought used from someone on Instagram, I believe, because I was looking for this knife for a long time. So this is a standard mini Sebenza, just like everyone thinks about them. It's got the little blue thumb stud on there, just right side. Titanium. It's got a little bit of snail trailing going on just because this thing did see some pocket time. I carried this for a day after I received it, and I got it used. The very next day, they came back in stock. So that one went into my case, and then I picked up a brand new one because I wanted to customize it a little bit. I actually sent this mini Sebenza back to Chris Reeves, and they replaced the thumb stud to make it double thumb stud. Don't like the blue accent, so I went with the just regular stainless on there. This one also saw some pocket time. You just can't say enough good things about Chris Reeves blades. Feeling all these knives now make me want to carry them again, but again, fixed blade for life. Now we're getting into a weird one. I forget the name of this one too. This is the Kinetic Tool Auto Bally coming from Artisan Cutlery. So this one, not really a knife, but it's sort of like an auto. It's got a blade with a bunch of tools on it, so it's not actually sharp. It's got just like pry bar, bottle opener, screwdriver, whatever you may want to do with this. But also, if I close this up and pop out this T-latch, it's also a balisong. So I did a full video on this, just a really cool design, and there's like some weird sort of nuances to it. So if I open it in auto and then flick it like that, the handles won't line up, so then you gotta close it or reopen it as a balisong and then close it as an auto. Really cool, kind of like fidget toy style carbon fiber handles, and this is a good knife to just like sit on your desk. Then we have a real balisong. This is the Bradley Kumara, I believe. Yeah, this is the newer Kumara, and this is actually a first production run of the blade. 154 cm blade on there. This is made in America. G10 handles lined on top of the actual steel there. I've always wanted one of the OG Kumaras, I believe like the third one. I don't know them all that well, but the Bradley knives, they make really good balisongs, and this one Not really my favorite because of the shorter handles and it's kind of heavy for a balisong, but that leaf style blade on there cuts really nicely. Carried this one for just a few days, just basically for the fidget factor, and overall it's a pretty good balisong. You want to talk about really good balisongs though, right here I have a Squiddy Trainer. If anyone is really into flipping balisongs, then chances are you have one of these. Got a little face on there, and it's made out of like PVC. The action of it is actually pretty good. It is light and you're not going to cut yourself. Let's see if I can get an aerial with this thing. Not gonna cut myself. There we go, that was a good one. This is basically what I use to learn different balisong tricks, and I'm not super good at flipping, but it's a good way to learn. Ooh, ZT. This is probably the only ZT knife that I have in my collection. Love this thing, even though it's discontinued. The 0804CF. I reference this knife quite a lot in some of my knife videos. The action of it is extremely nice. It's made out of a CTS 204P steel. Not even sure what that is, but they're made in America. The action of this thing is just so nice. Great fidget factor, overall great knife, and I did carry this one for quite a while. Next up, my only cold steel knife in my collection. This is the S35VN Recon 1 with the Tonto blade. I bought this one when I was out visiting Blade HQ because of the triad lock on there, and haven't really used this all that much. I just wanted it because I feel like every knife collection needs at least one cold steel blade. So we got a back lock on there, normal pocket clip, just if you know cold steel, you know they make just crazy large robust blades. A lot of them sort of border on the line of like functional and then novelty, like the Espada XL or whatever that giant sword pocket folding knife thing is, but some of that stuff's kind of cool, so maybe I'll pick up some more of these in the future. Ooh, here is one that's sort of controversial. People love this blade, but you can't really get them, at least right now. Maybe in the future you can. Colonel Blades Folder. This is a tactical self-defense style knife. I've done a lot of training with the actual guy who makes these blades. This one was made and designed by Colonel Blades, but then it was brought to production by Fox Knives out of Italy. So real quick overview, the reason for the actual shape of this blade is one, it's a flipper, so you pull it out of your pocket, you put your finger through the hole if you want to. You could also choke back on it, but this is basically designed for punching. You don't have to have a whole lot of knife fighting defense moves in your arsenal or in your brain of knowledge. If you can throw a punch, you can defend yourself with this because punching someone is effective, but also poking holes in them is a lot more effective. Did carry this one for a while, used it as sort of an EDC blade, but it's definitely a really good self-defense option. Now, RIP to my Leatherman Wave Plus. I carried that thing for a while after I moved into my new house because I was constantly fixing stuff. Went on a camping trip down in the Ozarks in Arkansas and lost it. So in that spot right now is a Leatherman rebar. Leatherman has really great customer service, which is why I love their products. They make some of the best multi-tools out there. I had an older version of this multi-tool that I got as a high school graduation present from my uncle. Used it for a long time, and then I ended up breaking somehow. I broke this little Phillips head driver on the old one. I reached out to them, I said, hey, I've used this thing a lot, it's like 5 years old now, don't know if it's covered under warranty, but it broke. They said, hey, no problem, we actually don't even make that multi-tool anymore, but this one is comparable, so if you're okay with it, we'll send you this one as a replacement. And I was like, great, you guys have a lifelong customer now. Love Leatherman, and also rest in peace that Wave Plus because I loved that one. Next up, again, not really a knife, but this should actually be in the Spyderco section. This is the Spyderco Balio. It is a Fisher space pen on the inside there. I did actually carry this thing with me to work before, just to sort of fidget with while I'm sitting at my desk. It's got little wire sort of pocket clips on there, brass insert weights on there, and it's not the greatest flipper, but you can still do some balisong type of stuff with it. I don't know, not really a knife, but that'll be replaced with an actual blade later. Leatherman Skeletool. My buddy Mike loves these things, and I want to love it too, but it just never really grew on me. I think because of the overall shape and design of this thing. It's got a little clip on there, bottle opener. Great tool, I've used this one quite a bit, but if they made it look less like mermaid knife ish, then maybe I would like it a little bit more. I do like that the blade is on the outside. I also like that it has a nice set of pliers in there. If you're working around the house, this is definitely a great option to have with you. I just wish it was like less weird looking. I don't know. Next up, we've got another Leatherman. This is the Leatherman Squirt PS4. Again, I love Leatherman, and this is just a tiny little multi-tool which you can keep on your keychain, which I did for a little while. So it's got a little set of pliers on there, a file, and a tiny baby little chisel ground pen blade. If I didn't mind having a set of keys that weren't minimal, I would throw this thing back on my keychain, but it's a little bit heavy for that. I could drop it into like a watch pocket, but it's just gonna stay in the case for now. Next up, we've got another one coming from Smith & Wesson's Performance Center. They do have a whole accessory division where they make knives, and this one is a lot nicer than some of their other ones. This is the Homeland. This is sort of like a military law enforcement style knife. Black and blue G10 handle scales on there. Deep carry pocket clip on this side. Tonto blade. And this is a very cool exclusive. They made 1,000 of these blades, and this is number 001. USA made, and this is the very first one. I've got this one in my collection somehow, and although it's not one of my favorite knives, it's pretty cool that it is number 1 of 1,000. I don't know if they're making any more of these. Next up, random knife, the Kershaw Shuffle 2. This is a tiny little blade, but it fills up the hand really nicely. This is an 8CR13 MOV blade steel, very inexpensive, and I carried this for my EDC under $100 video. Has a little multi-tool built into the end here so I can pop these little bits out. It's magnetic, so I can actually use this as a screwdriver. Bottle opener on the back there. Really cool blade, and with the design of it and that finger choil, it actually fits in my hand pretty nicely. You can pick those up on Amazon for probably about 30 bucks. Last but not least, the Asheville Steel Paragon Warlock. This is a ridiculous knife, one that will definitely cut you if you don't know how the mechanism works. There is a full video of this on my channel. Essentially, it's a clamshell design, so when I squeeze these buttons here, the handles open up and then this blade swings freely, so it swings down and locks up in this like coffin style handle. So once you get the hang of it, you can flip it out pretty easily, and then it drops closed even easier. Dagger style blade, just kind of wicked. I really bought this knife just for that mechanism there. And that is the entire folding collection as of right now in early 2022. So that was a ton of info. I'm sure this video is quite long. If you guys have any questions on anything that you saw here, I could try to answer them, but I figure there might be a lot. So I'll read through the comments and answer anything that I can as best as possible. Again, if you want to see any of these knives, check out the knife playlist or just simply search my channel for the name of the blade that you want to see. There's a really good chance that there is a video of most of these knives on my channel already. Now, throughout this year, as new blades come in for testing and review, I'm going to have to get rid of some of these blades. One by one, I might end up trading some blades, or if I just get a new one, then I'll probably end up having to sell some of these. I'm going to probably give my Patreon members the first dibs on buying any knife that I'm going to get rid of, so don't email me or DM me if any of these knives are for sale. As of right now, they are not. I'll put them up on my Patreon for you guys who support me there to pick one up first if I am selling any, and then after that I will put them over on my Instagram if I'm really trying to move knives, and simply just send me a DM then once you see me post in my stories that something is actually for sale. So that is all that I have for today. I think I'm losing my voice by the end of this video. If you are new here, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.